everybody, live at Drew's house, Chop Afternoon Drive, another edition from the studios here in Newburyport. Hope we're all doing well. It is summertime. It's getting hot out there. Hope everybody is enjoying these days. I like it too. I like all the seasons, but here we go. Summertime, one of my favorites. My guest today, you'll recognize one face, and we have one new face. I kind of like that idea. We'll start with the new one. Rich Bostick in the house. How are you, Rich?
I'm pretty good, Drew. Thanks.
Good, good. And EJ Ouellette. A lot of you probably recognize EJ.
Hi, Drew.
It's been, how long? 3 years for you and I, you said?
It's been, I think 2 years now.
2 years, maybe?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Doesn't feel like that long.
No.
You look great.
Thank you. You too.
As do you, Rich. All right, so here we go. This is, you have produced this album. I was reading about you here beforehand, and you have a fascinating story on the making of this album. You had, well, I'll let you tell it, but you had a bunch of money you wanted to use, and you put it to good causes. Tell me a little bit about this album.
Yeah, well, like you kind of mentioned, I had some money that I was just going to donate to charities that provide care, comfort, and companionship, because in the last couple of years with the pandemic and everything, the care and comfort and companionship is kind of lacking because of the lack of close space that we can get.
We could all use a little more of that these days, right? Yeah.
And then I thought, since I've written over 300 songs and never produced one professionally, I thought, well, maybe I can generate some more income by creating an album instead of just having that one chunk go out there once.
Nice, something that could last, have a little more staying power.
And hopefully I'll generate enough income to do it a second time with EJ, because EJ did a great job on the first one.
EJ, as people know here, he's played for us so many times. He's played, I think, probably 25 instruments for us or something at this point. But he plays great music. He's also a great producer. What was it like producing this album, EJ?
Well, it was a sublime experience with Rich, and I've known Richie for many years.
Yeah.
And I played in a band with him, what, 40
in the 80s,
years ago, some ridiculous amount of time.
38, 40 years ago, yeah.
And he came to me, and he brought me these songs, and he kept, he was asking me what I liked, and I'm always honest about songs, so I like this one not so much, and a lot of them sounded sort of dated a little bit with the 80s, although they're good songs, but we said, well, if we can do a disco album if you want, or we can take these songs and we can update them and do it that way. And I'm not against doing a disco album, because I think people would enjoy it, and I think retro is good. But he started to tell me about his project, and the songs a little bit more about life-affirming, positive themes.
So I look at the tracks. Actually, let's get right into one. I'll play one. The first one off here is Everything for All Time.
Correct.
I know. Yep. What's the reason for making this number one right off the bat?
Well, it starts off. You'll hear the first line. Some people want a life full of picket fences, and others want to become, and so on and so on. So, it's kind of like a good beginning.
And I'll pull it up a little bit as we go.
Become senseless. Others just want to take complete advantage, and others just lay back and absorb all the damage.
Is that you on piano too?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Wake up and pick a path.
Familiar names on drums there too. Dave
Yes.
Maddox, I
Dave
know
Maddox
a friend
on
of
drums.
yours too, I take it.
Well, not a friend yet, an acquaintance.
An
anyways.
acquaintance, yeah. He's quite a legacy, that guy.
Don't be so small.
And Beth Muse on vocals as well.
Yep, she's an old friend.
Old friend, local.
Yep.
Beautiful harmonies. What made this album different to make, EJ?
Well, here's a little bit of the story. When Richard came to me with him, he says, my keyboard plans, I'm not really thinking about playing my keyboard, because usually when I played before, I played drums with the left hand or bass with the left hand and the right hand. And I says, well, all you have to do is play piano on this one. And he was downplaying his piano playing, and he was also downplaying his singing.
Yeah, beautiful voice. You sound great.
Yeah, so, I said, well, let's, as we started getting going, I said, I can build instruments around it and obscure the the piano playing, but the parts are so good. I decided at halfway through it that we start wrapping these songs around his voice and his piano.
Yeah.
Because he was a little bit afraid of that, and that's what I did. I decided that the most important thing was to bring the artist out front and have him play his piano work and everything. And
that's the mind of the producer right there. So you got to figure out how to attack the album right away.
That's right. Yeah. How to present it, because otherwise it would have been all me.
You've done albums like that before.
I do.
and I would have been happy with that, but he encouraged me, and I actually wrote some extra piano parts to fit in, and so it's came out pretty good.
And that Beth can really sing.
Yeah.
Too.
Beautiful. All right. So that one's Everything for All Time. Did you guys put a title on this album, or is this?
Yes.
Would you?
There's a Reason.
So There's a Reason is the name of the album. Okay. Yeah. So you do. Let's see. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tracks on here. A lot of work. You guys have been busy.
It took about a year, a little bit over a year to do this. And remember, we started out in COVID.
Yeah.
So he did come to the studio. We were all masked up, last year. And but what I did was, and this is what I've been doing with my other clients, is that I'm setting them up with high-end digital workstations.
Wow.
So I taught Richie how to run it. And he already had some older recording stuff there, but it wasn't digital.
Yeah.
And I showed him how to track. And I'd send him stems, and that's how we did this whole project.
It's quite a learning experience. Yeah. I don't like learning that stuff.
Yep, we did all the keyboards and at my house and all the vocals. There's 7 different people singing on it.
Yeah.
So
did you enjoy the experience? Were there times when you were like, EJ, just give me a break?
No, but no, I enjoyed it, and I enjoy the final versions of everything more than the process, because it's a little more tedious this way. But
so he loves your voice. He says you got to trust your piano playing and go with it. Do you just have to trust that when you put your music in the hands of a producer like this?
Yeah, well, he didn't necessarily tell me to do something different. He just said that this is what I want to feature, and I said, okay, if you're gonna feature my piano, I'm gonna go out and do some extra things on the piano that I didn't normally do when I played these songs in the past.
Gotcha.
So EJ was a great influence. I want to say also the same with Dave Maddox. Both they're great at what they do.
Wow.
So what was really interesting is the way this works is he would send me 5 piano tracks, or 5 or 6, 7 of his vocal tracks. The interesting thing about his vocal tracks, even on the demos he sent me, when we did the pre-production, they were great. So immediately it was out. I actually pulled some phrases from the very first. So his vocals, he sent me 5 vocal tracks, and I would cut in what I would consider the best one. I sent it back to him. Do you like it? Same thing with the piano.
Yep.
And with the piano, Dave Maddox, we work on a dead-on clock. So his timing is darn near perfect without losing its humanness. And
for those who don't know, Dave Maddox, this is the Paul McCartney, Dave Maddox.
Yeah, Paul McCartney,
Elton John,
Mary Chapin Carpenter.
Some people who I hear have real potential in the music
Richard
business.
Thompson. He's a well sought after studio musician too, and we've got a good team thing happening. We've been working together for over 10 years.
Crazy.
So it's nice to have his expertise on everything that we do. He also played. Did he play any piano in this?
No, he played organ on one track.
Organ, right?
Okay.
So he's another one of those
yeah.
multi guys.
Rich, what was I know a lot about EJ's music background, but how about you? When did it all start for you? Was it an early band that kind of got you hooked, or somebody put it?
Actually, I was hooked when I was probably 4. And my mother started teaching me to play the piano, and for 4 years she taught me how to play. And then I got into sports, and other things happened for a few years. And so then about the time I was 14, I started joining bands.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of them?
Yeah, a lot of bands over the years.
Do you play in a lot of bands?
I did.
Yeah.
I had a.
It seems to be the story, right?
I remember my grandmother brought me home a guitar when I was 9 years old. I just come back from a baseball game, and we got in a big fight. in April. Yeah. I had blood on my face and everything.
Oh, if I'm a
And
fight.
she says, "I brought this guitar for you to keep you out of off the streets." At 12 years old, I had a blues band.
Wow.
A professional blues band.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think you ever told me that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I fell in love with Robert Johnson and the early blues players right after the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like in '65. I just became enamored with the blues, and I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And then I started learning blues riffs and all that stuff. And then when I turned 12, I had a band together. We were called the Four Dimensions, and we did some venture stuff, but we also did some blues too as well.
You ever look back on that stuff and you're like, we were pretty good.
I don't remember how there was no recordings back then. The pictures look great, but yeah. So I've been gigging since I was 12 years old.
Crazy, Rich. What did you learn about being in a band there, even in those early years? Like, what did it teach you setting forward?
Well, not too much in the first few years, but by the time I was 18, I had a great influence. Harold Glynn was in the band, and his son Barry Glynn also. So and they're both pretty well-known musicians around here, but from back in the 70s. Yeah. And Harold used to play in all the big bands. I learned a lot about writing all kinds of different jazz chords instead of just 1-4-5 and 1-2-4-5, if you know what that means. The simple chords, and expanding them to ninths and 13ths.
Did he play with Les Harris?
Yeah, he played with Les Harris.
Local
Johnny
drummer.
Battis, saxophone.
Wow.
Yeah, Johnny Battis actually played on a cut that a friend of mine wrote, when I was in
He was
Kicker.
awesome. Right.
Yeah.
And I played with Johnny Battis many times.
I mean, the whole music thing does take you. It's amazing all the journeys it takes you on. You meet all these people. And, you probably don't even think about it sometimes. But
that's where the wealth is.
Right,
is the way we cross-pollinate and and communicate on that level.
And you talk about in the when you watch the news, or you get a lot of these music fights or record company fights. You hear a lot about the tough sides of the music business. Here's a case where
It's all drama.
It's all drama. Here's a case where this is the perfection of what music is supposed to be, right? I mean, you're putting money and trying to get money into a good cause. You're trying to do it through music, trying to make that music create more money for good causes. It's a really cool thing. Well, you agree with all that, don't you?
Well, that was my motivation, anyways. Yeah.
Why is the charity so important to you? Because there's certain artists who, I mean, you could give them all the money in the world, and they really wouldn't care. It would still feel empty if they weren't doing that one thing that they cared about, or they weren't helping that charity, they weren't helping that organization. And it seems to me that you're probably fit that mold.
Right. Well, the one image in my mind that sticks out is during the pandemic, you would see people in the hospital. They were away from their loved ones, and their loved ones be outside the window looking in. It was just no care and comfort for them, no companionship. And so that's why we came up with the idea. Actually, my brother and I both were in human services for several years, and then we came up with the idea to do this and then give back to human services.
That's great. Sometimes that it almost just gives me chills thinking about that, because it's easy to, even this far removed, we're not far removed from those hard quarantine days, those really hard quarantine days when people weren't being allowed in the hospitals. It feels like almost wasn't real in some ways. I'm going to look back on that in 10 years. I mean, I don't have kids right now, but I imagine telling my kids someday, you're not going to believe what we went through. It doesn't seem natural yet. I was thinking, we were talking off the air about my friend Karen Nassimbetti at the North Shore Music Theater.
Right.
And she told her story very openly here. She was in a coma for 30 days.
From COVID.
From COVID. Lost her husband. They went in at the same time. She woke up, her husband had passed away.
Oh my God.
And she thought that she had died because she woke up. And she goes, in my family, when you wake up in a hospital room, the family's there, the tequila's waiting, it's a party when somebody comes through something. And there was nobody there. Yeah. And that's when I said, oh no, where's my family? And, the nurse had to come in and explain, you've woken up in a different world.
Oh my God.
So she was one of the first ones.
How old is she?
I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But she's strong as can be, and she pulled through. And does not take a day for granted. So but yeah, there's certain names that when you talk about COVID and you talk about hospital struggles and certain names, she's one that will always come to my mind. Yeah. But obviously that's what you're hoping to get when people think about this stuff, right? Is make a connection there somewhere, I guess too. Right. That's part of it as well. Was it fun making this album?
Yeah. Let me just tell you, I just had my primary care physician annual a couple days ago, and I have some health issues ongoing also. And he said I looked remarkably well, and that whatever I'm doing, keep it up. And I said, well, it's probably because of the project that I'm just finishing up right now kept me on the right frame of mind.
There's got to be something to that. Yeah. I mean, look at these guys, all these older bands that are touring right now. I mean, Mick Jagger looks amazing, bouncing around. I mean, there's a million of those guys, not at that level, but it's there is something to music just driving you and keeping you young, or lack of a better word. I don't know. You agree with that, EJ?
That's why I created Whole Music.
Yeah.
If you go to my website, wholemusic.com, the first thing you're going to see is that music is the path to wellness.
Music, yeah.
And that's how I approach music.
Yeah.
Is through wellness and well-being.
And you're kind of and I mean this in the best way, a health nut, right?
I try to make right choices for myself.
Yeah.
I was lucky not to get COVID, and I had my music academy, and I immediately shut it down in 10 days and put everybody online. So so that my teachers didn't, and none of us got ill on that. I didn't get COVID, so I'm very fortunate.
Yeah.
But I do think that music is a path to wellness, whether you're a listener or a player.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel better about my day when I've driven to work and listened to music. I always say I need a little bit before.
Yeah.
I'm going in early too, so it's not always the easiest thing to
right.
get up. Sometimes I want to just listen to the news, the talk show, whatever, just to kind of get me ready for the day. But if I find I have a better day when I start it with the music, maybe some song that sticks in my head or something.
Right, rather than the news.
Rather than the news, I get a lot of it. It's part of the job. I have to see some of the news, but yeah. Actually, one of your songs I play quite often on there with the Wasted Time. There.
No More Wasting Time.
No More Wasting Time. I love that tune. It's a great song.
Thank you. Yeah.
What album was that off of again?
That's off a Conjure Man album. It's the Boomer national theme song.
Yeah. You played that in here one day, and I liked it. I liked the stripped down version of it too, but it sounds great on the produced version.
Thank you.
But anyway, enough about you. More about Rich. Rich, let's get to the second song we're going to talk about here. We're just kind of going down the order, give people a taste of it, but let's get good at life.
Yeah,
I like that title.
There's a pretty cool story behind that. I don't know how far you want me to get into it.
Oh, go for it. I'll stop you if we have
to. Gary Levitt, his daughter, Renee, is a country singer.
Yeah.
And he actually came to me and asked me to write music for some lyrics that they had written.
Oh, wow.
And I did, and they liked it at first, but then they wanted to go in a slightly different direction, and so I asked them if I could keep the music, and they said yeah. And so my brother had an idea about getting good at life, and so I changed the lyrics and wrote this song.
Yeah, I'll pull it up a little bit for you here. I have it right? A lot more people on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll name drop here a little bit. Rich, Dave, EJ, Beth again, Billy Glynn, Dave Courier, Jim Sparling, Joyce Dow.
Yep.
Tom Sadowski.
Yep, those are all the singers that I said that I've, not all of them that I've sung in the past, but that I'm still close with.
Cross paths.
Yeah. We needed to have a chorus type effect for this, and so a lot of them sang 2 or 3 parts. We had as many as probably 20 different vocals going on at one time on different tracks with the 7 of us.
We took it to church.
Yeah.
Was that the? Did both of you guys have that idea coming in? Let's get a lot of voices. Let's give it that church sound. That was something you.
Take it to church.
Take it to church.
Take it to church.
It's beautiful. What's it like having the finished product like this? You're just kind of sitting here, talking over it with me. Is it rewarding? What's the feeling? Is it weird, rewarding? I don't know.
Yeah, it's well, you're part of it, so it's almost like you're not going into a restaurant and just getting a great plate of food. You're creating the plate of food, so you know what's going on the whole time. But when it's all done and you get the chance to just sit back and listen to it, it makes more sense. It works, and it works because you took the time on every single thing that you put in there to make sure that worked with everything else.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's a good analogy, the plate of food. I like that. It's a good visual. Does it end up coming out pretty much how you envisioned it at the beginning, or does this thing take turns and twists along the way?
There are definitely little turns and twists because you have someone as excellent as EJ to provide the instruments that he provided. He plays, on this particular cut, he played the bass and the guitars, but on some other cuts he's playing 5 or 6 different instruments, and they all add something.
Yeah.
So, but again, the focus really is to wrap it around his songs and his singing, and his piano. So I do what I call diminished mixing. So I put a lot of stuff in there, and then I take it out, and so I don't get the guitar player upset or the violin.
Diminished mixing.
Diminished mixing. Yeah.
You on the guitar? Yeah. I haven't been to church in a while. I don't remember the electric guitar the last time I was there.
It depends on what type of church
you go to. A gospel church, there's electric guitar.
There you go. All right, very cool. Well, I like that one, guys. That's a couple of good sample size right there. I keep playing too. Why don't you guys pick another one here? What's one more you want me to go to? What's your favorite one on the album? Is it one of those two? Pick your favorite baby.
I don't have one.
Pick your favorite
how
child.
About Honey Rain.
Honey Rain.
Sure.
Here we can.
Honey Rain.
I won't jump right to it, but anything. So I mean, these things are all the songs pretty much that general theme though of upbeat positivity, or do we?
Most of them are. Yeah. I didn't want to have the whole album just consumed by that.
Yeah.
So there's a love song in there, a failed love song actually. There's another one that's kind of bluesy, jazzy. That's talks about love too. So
yeah.
But and Dan Harrington, the famous Dan Harrington,
yeah.
played baritone on this.
Oh yeah, we should do one of his cuts.
Yeah, right. He's on Honey Rain?
No, he's not. Either Intense or Last Shot. It doesn't really matter. Cool. I think.
Let's go to Intense and bring that up a little bit.
There's a class act.
The funny thing is, all my friends, every single one has a different favorite. So
is that right?
All 10
That's
songs.
a good album, right? A little bit of something for everybody. Yep. Got that old time swing feel to it. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You really do sound great on these for sure. I mean,
thank you.
It's, you guys did a nice job. You know what I like about it? You have a knack for this too. I don't know if it's something. Maybe it's something you especially pay attention to, and you're like, of course I pay attention to that. But one thing I've always liked about your songs too, like you have a very like the Springsteens and the Dylans in the world. Sometimes they'll write these great songs, and I love those two guys. But sometimes I do struggle to hear. Like, what did he say there? What was it?
Right.
It was very like it's crisp. It's like you don't miss the.
I want to be able to hear the words and the lyrics, and I want to hear the soul and the voice.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. I try to get that up front. Whereas if it was a rock mix, then the voice becomes a little bit more of the instrument.
Yeah.
And it's mixed down, that kind of thing. But
yeah, is that how you think about it? Like that's so rock voices. The kind of
it all depends on where you're coming from.
Yeah.
You're struggling to hear what they're saying. You have to hear it a couple times before you get the lyrics and everything.
Yeah.
That's because the voice becomes part of the instrumentation, whereas the voice is more about the message here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I've always strived to have the voices up front. In all the bands I've played in had 2 or 3 good lead singers.
Yeah.
And even going way back to when my mother was teaching me how to play and sing, she always said, that, make sure you have good diction, make sure it's out front there, and that people can understand what you're saying. Like Frank Sinatra, his early years was one of my favorites. Dean Martin, that's the things I grew up listening to with my mother.
Mom instilled that early.
And it's a 40-piece orchestra, and you hear the voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's
It's a good ender. Brings it home with nice
It's a good
energy.
It's your turn.
You guys, I can tell you guys are, I mean, I know this was pandemic made and it was a little bit of social distancing and all that, but you made it sound like a party feel too on some of this, right?
That's the trick, right? It's kind of the way I produce because, I love it. I don't record bands anymore. So if they come in, it's only because it just takes so long. And I don't have a problem with it because they usually don't get the tracks and they come in and spend more money.
Yeah.
So, but it gets to the point where I think that I have a certain method that I've been doing for years. And we start with a click and a good song. You can't shine a sneaker.
Yeah.
But the trick to it is making sure that the click track that we play to is just a little bit faster than comfortable.
Right.
It's so simple. It's 2 beats faster. Well, it feels a little fast. I go, good.
You're uncomfortable. That's good.
Yeah. So what happens is that as you start adding bass and instruments to it, it starts to sync. So and it falls into it. And so far I've had 100% success rate with that.
All right.
I haven't go back and change things.
Well, it continues right here with this album. You guys, I can already tell you guys did the trick on this one.
Yep.
Nice going. You should be proud of it. What did you take now that you're, more than a year in the books of putting this thing all together? What's your immediate reaction when you sit back and go, how about that?
It's good. I mean, it's I hate to promote myself, but every single one of the songs is well done and they're well written and excellent vocals and excellent production. So
I didn't get fatigued on one song.
Yeah.
Not one song.
Because that probably happens too.
Oh
right?
yeah. Well, I handpick my clients, so it's I don't want to get into a song and go, oh my God, I'm sick of hearing the voice.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. When I was younger, I did because that's what I did. But now it's been nice to be able to do that.
Because you do get, I mean, you said it here today, you do get selective. I mean, what makes you say, this is a project I want to take on? Because, I mean, you're at an established point in your career where you don't have to take on every project. What makes that one appealing?
With this song, this album here?
What
Well, the
makes
song,
appealing?
Richie, first of all.
Yeah.
We've been friends, and
You like
I
the
knew,
guy, you
I
like
knew
the
that
artist.
it would be, I think we'd have compatible personalities.
Yeah.
And but I pretty much knew where he was coming from in his music,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was and I don't dictate, I don't direct, I just create options.
Yeah.
And that's it, and that makes it easier. So I'm not telling you what to do, but here's my opinion, but you can take it if you want to.
And a lesson to the kids, you'd be smart to take that advice.
like I told EJ, if I had to do this with anyone else, I probably wouldn't have finished all 10. I mean, EJ, what he's been saying, exactly. He brings so much to the table. It's amazing, and And because we did it remotely, and I handled a lot of the initial recording in my own house, and then sent it off to EJ, I was able to save money that way too.
And you
So it
get
was-
engineering credits as well.
But I mean, it was a project that, when I first started, I said, let's try these two first and see what happens.
Wow.
But before we got finished with those two, I sent them the other 8, so
Wow.
I was already convinced that this was the right way to go with all 10.
Is there another project on tap? You're going to work
Well,
together?
no, but we have to. He has a plan to
Yeah.
use this to raise money for nonprofits with the music. That's the goal originally of the project. I have a personal plan. I'm going to submit it to the Grammys this year.
Look at you.
So
Wow.
it's my work too. So I have to be proud of what I did.
Yep.
And the peer review is really high.
Yeah.
So I feel good about submitting it. I don't know what category yet I'm going to put it in. It would be an Americana probably.
Congratulations in order too. That was you produced the Linda Chorney
That's
song that
right.
had some
Yeah.
big success this year. Got on that nomination.
Got a
That
nomination.
very cool. I think I got to tell you that maybe virtually. Congratulations, but
Oh,
first
thank
time
you.
in person.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Another huge honor. I know you got that's plenty of those honors, but it is a really cool thing, and that was well done. I know she was very proud of how it came down.
Yeah, right.
She loved working with you too.
Yep.
Well, Rich, it was so fun to meet you. It was great to listen to some of your music. Show flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah. Thank you so much
And
for having me.
Yeah, thank you for raising money for good causes here too. Through music, it combines two just awesome things, right?
Richard will be doing some performances too,
Mhm.
as well. He's going to be playing the music out.
Playing it live?
For
Yep,
good causes.
Yep, we're gonna put some things together and hopefully, I mean, I'm retired from my day jobs now, so
Yeah. Well, keep making this music.
You have a
man.
new career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If this is retired, then okay.
We don't retire. We expire.
Listen, on that cheery note, we'll take that one to the end of the show. We'll play this one out here. What do we got here? I think Honey Rain, right?
Thanks, Drew.
Honey Rain here?
this is Honey Rain.
All right. Rich Bostick, EJ Ouellette. Go pick this music up, will you? Let Honey Rain play us out. Live at Drew's house, Chop Afternoon Drive. My name's Drew Moholland. Big thanks to our producers, Sarah Blackstone, and the new man in the house, Cal Eaton. Doing a little interning here, helping produce the show today. Thank you, Cal. Sarah Hayden in the house. We're busy today. Got a lot going on. Again, for Rich Bostick, EJ Ouellette, Drew Moholland, live at Drew's house. Peace, everybody.